Hey everybody, it is Zakia and we are about to cut some soap. This is an overhead view. We're not going to do the 30-pound one yet, but what we will be doing is the smaller 6.5-pound mold. So this will give you a chance to see just from the overhead how the soap cuts, and then I will come back on a live stream and actually cut a larger 30-pound batch. So this is an individual loaf. So here, let me get rid of the soap crumbs. I just put the other soap away that we cut. Generally, we would have a very clean surface, but I wanted to do a quick video to walk you through the process of the individual loaf mold versus when you go to cut a whole slab. So here is a slab. This one is 30 pounds of soap, but the good news about this is we get 4 individual loaves, but it takes the same amount of time to make it. You can see that I do line this one with a trash bag, so make sure that you subscribe so when we do go live with the actual cutting of this loaf one, you will be able to see what that process is like. But most of the time, if you're doing just an individual slab, which this one is, and this actually got its entire color from the fragrance. I did get this fragrance from Molly's Soap Supplies, and it's cinnamon apple, and it actually smells like a cinnamon apple. So I didn't have to use any additional colorant. It actually discolored, but she told me that when she sold me the fragrance oil, and so I knew, don't even waste the time. I think this actually looks like a caramel apple, so it actually works for this particular soap. In order to cut the soap, we do need a soap cutter. I have a multi-bar cutter. I have one that's actually the length of this one. However, the problem is I popped one of my strings, which is never a good thing. You all are going to get the Sopcock hands today. But let me grab a pair of gloves and then I'll show you the process of cutting this down. If you don't have a multi-bar cutter, you can use what I started out with, of course, a regular kitchen knife or just a regular cheese slicer. This will give you at least semi-uniform bars, and I don't know if you can see it, but right on here I have a marking which told me where to cut them so that I had uniform bars the entire time. So after you've let your soap sit overnight or longer, depending on your formula, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for it to harden, you want to go ahead and unmold it. I'm going to put my gloves on, but that's not because there's any lye in the soap. A lot of you have said, I'm nervous about making the soap because of the lye. I completely get it. I completely understand, but there is nothing to fear with this. I'm just doing the gloves because I want to make sure that I don't have my hands on people's soap that they're going to be using to wash their body. I do like the silicone liners. If you get a cheap quality, they won't stand for very long. But what you generally do is you pull away from the sides here, and then you push it down from the bottom. And look at that. We always like to see really clean edges when we go to cut. It looks like I got a little bit of a partial gel going on here, but I am okay with that. It is completely aesthetic and something that only soap makers actually notice. And if you have customers that ask about it, tell them you meant it that way. It's a designer element of your handmade soap. So then what you want to do is you want to grab your multi-bar slicer or your soap cutter. And the purpose of these and the reason I like them, let me see, will you be able to see the soap if I put it here? The reason I like them is you get multiple bars at one time without having to kind of line it up. It's going to be completely uniform. Normally you'll have a paper towel so you can wipe the wires each time. And then what you want to do is bring your soap right up to the mold here. And I do have like some little extra ones, but you guys maybe can or cannot see that. And then you want to bring your slicer down. And it cuts like butter. This is why I don't wait too long, depending on the recipe. If this was like 100% coconut oil, I would be cutting this way sooner than 24 hours. But this is my tried and true signature recipe, so I know that I have a little bit of wiggle room. And as you can see, that is that partial gel.